Calling the February 13 meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Commission to order. The mission of the Cottage Grove Parks and Recreation Commission is to create and promote policies, programs, and places that enable active living for a more vibrant community. Tonight, we'll discuss a trail naming request, matching funds request, and our commission meeting agenda. We'll also receive information about the impact of the proposed local option sales tax. Okay, can we get started with roll call?
Taken.
Did everyone have time to review the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? On favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda is approved. Did we have the opportunity to review the minutes?
I did.
Any comments or questions on the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second. Oh, well, Shane.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is passed, minutes are approved. Any open forum this evening? Okay, moving on to presentations.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Good evening. We have a commissioner it's his last meeting tonight, Commissioner Eric Witt. Eric joined us in 2016. In 2016, Hamilton was a Broadway theater smash. Chicago Cubs broke the GOAT curse and won a World Series. And there was the whole Trump-Clinton election thing that went down. Here in Cottage Grove, we were expanding the bike park. It was in its second year. We were opening Camel's Hump Park, Cedarhurst Meadows Park West, and of course, we opened our first 3 dedicated pickleball courts at Granada Park in Cottage Grove. And we were looking for a new Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Commissioner. In steps Mr. Eric Witt. He was appointed in March of 2016 and amicably has served his full term through February of 2023. In Commissioner Witt's time with us, we've renovated almost all of our park buildings, expanded Hamlet Park to the south, acquired over 300 acres of park and open space, plus 30 miles of trails. He was instrumental in guiding that East Ravine Park and Trail Master Plan that will carry us into the next generation of the park system. Saw the openings of Cedarhurst Meadows Park, Oltman, Antlers Ridge, Strawberry Fields Park, while also breaking ground on the Glacial Valley Community Park, our newest community park. Added a lot of unique recreational features like the bike park, paddle share, kayak rental program, lots of playgrounds, interpretive signage, and trail mapping, just to name a few. Perhaps Commissioner Witt's strongest voice was his dedication to the inclusive playground at Woodridge Park. For those that didn't know, Eric served on that task force and also used his connections with the Lions Club to make that park a fantastic experience for our community and visitors. Eric was also instrumental in guiding us through the Mississippi Dunes project, which was no easy task, but we made it through. We got a great master plan out of it, so he was instrumental in that process to make sure we have future generations that can enjoy shoreland along the Mississippi River, public shoreland along the Mississippi River. Eric has always been a team player, both helping to get resolution to the topics at hand while also taking on the officer role of vice chair. Commissioner Witt considered the public impact as a whole when making decisions and was good about asking questions to gather the context around any situation, and always stayed very connected with the community, so he was speaking for not just himself, but for those in the community as well. So with that, Commissioner Witt, we appreciate your 7+ years of service with us. We hope you'll continue to stay involved in Parks and Recreation in Cottage Grove, and we have a small token of appreciation for your service. We'll get a picture down front if you guys don't mind.
Yes, picture time, that's what I wanted.
We have a microphone. I'll have council member provide. So the plaque says, "The City of Cottage Grove expresses its gratitude for your dedicated service to the community, for your role as Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Commissioner. Your commitment to making Cottage Grove a happier, healthier, and more vibrant community are sincerely appreciated. Years of service from 2016 to 2023. Thank you very much.
Lovely. 1, 2, 3, 1 more, 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Sorry, my voice is.
Sorry, yeah, I kind of heard it after you said it. And I put you on the spot, sorry.
Oh, very nice.
All right, we can begin our action items. We'll start with the park trail naming request from the Olson family.
Thank you, Chair, members of the
Chair, if I could, I'd like to recuse myself from this conversation and voting, and I'll step away from the podium.
Thank you. So this is our third meeting in consideration of the Olson family request.
Yes, Chair, members of the commission. There's really no new information. I'm sorry, there was some new information in the application, but hopefully you've had time to review it. This is the third meeting to review, so in accordance with our park naming policy, it is advised that the commission make a recommendation. That recommendation typically would include either approving and recommending approval for the city council to consider, denial, or you could table and ask for additional information.
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
But here's the question. Is it Olson Memorial Trail or the Olson Memorial Trail? Because we have options.
Well, we made the motions to put it before the board.
Does it really matter? Is that what we need to,
The application says the Olson Memorial Trail.
okay.
Okay.
I would motion as
I would motion,
submitted.
yeah, I would agree with that. Is that good with the family?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries to recommend the Olson Memorial Trail as the naming request.
Back he comes.
Back to business.
I liked the efficiency of that.
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
Next, we have the disc golf matching funds request.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. We have a letter from the disc golf group and volunteer group in Cottage Grove that's been working diligently to improve the Oakwood Park disc golf course. Obviously, the results of their work speak for themselves. They're back this year looking for some additional funding to help with specifically with concrete tee pads, but they've also listed out some other accomplishments that they're hoping to achieve. We do have one of the leads of the volunteer group, David, here, if the commission has questions for him. Otherwise, looking for a motion to authorize $2,500 towards the installation of those concrete tee pads at the Oakwood Park disc golf course.
I have no questions. I just want to say great job.
Thank you.
I've heard and seen lots of great comments and feedback and how great it is, like, coming along and how much it's improved, and so thank you.
We appreciate that. We took a lot of time talking with over like 200 people that live in the community that play out there all the time. The last piece of this whole puzzle is just putting in 4 new tee pads that we have. Then we have 2 different layouts, 100% completed out there, and then fixing the whole 16 tee pad just because when it was first laid, the trees weren't the same way, right? It was 20 years ago, and so now the tee pad kind of presents itself as a trip hazard. And so it's just finding a way that we can just straighten that out and then put in those other tee pads, and everything else is taken care of.
I have one question. I'm over here. Does the volunteer group have a name to it? Like, what are we calling you guys? Disc golf volunteer group?
I mean, there's not really a name.
Okay.
I mean, there's a handful of people with different businesses, a handful of people that are just the community members, a handful of people that work in the industry that all helped out. I mean, we're just a volunteer group of people.
Okay.
the focus behind the project initially, when we started thinking about it in 2021, was that Oakwood Park, for the land and the layout and everything it has, it had the potential of being one of the best courses in the state. It just needed some TLC. And so by going through, we were fortunate enough, I was fortunate enough to build a really good relationship with one of the, the major companies in the industry, one of the regional people that helped us get basically everything we need at a discounted price. So we were able to get 27 new baskets, and we were able to do all these things kind of at an accelerated pace just from other connections we had. We are fortunate too that we had, I think, 5 different landscaping companies or construction companies volunteer their time, their expertise, and everything. So that really helped us with understanding how to grade things, understanding how to make things, and just letting them kind of do what they naturally do, and then just having people kind of fill in. So the next thing we have to do this spring is just, we have all that mulch you guys dropped off, which is fantastic. Really, it's just laying down that extra layer of mulch just because it's going to get a lot more traffic in it. Right now, it sounds like they're planning on doing about a tournament every other week there. So it's really kind of taken off. So we just want to make sure that we preserve all the walkways. We make kind of incentivize people to stay on the paths. And also we built in those paths and those road systems just so that you guys as a city can get back there easily. If there's bigger tournaments out there, people can just kind of monitor that. Police can get back there just to kind of keep the unfortunate kind of glass breaking and different thing that goes on out there. But with that, I mean, the whole idea with the pass, the whole idea with just making it, reestablishing those, is there's other people that want to use the park that aren't in disc golf. We just really wanted to protect people from walking down the fairways. There have been some really kind of tragic things that happened over the last year, different courses with people getting hit in the head and getting knocked out. So we just really wanted to avoid that and want to incentivize people to kind of walk the path, stay out of the line of fire, and then, again, so we can all use the space.
Perfect.
There's just so many things to like about this, and the community involvement and you all coming to us with a plan is one of them. And the fact that this park will draw people from outside of our community is another big reason to be in favor of this, in my opinion. So, thank you.
Did the trash issue ever get resolved? Like the trash cans and stuff like that, like people, someone had asked about?
Great question. We finished things off kind of at the tail end of the season last year for the state championship. It's hard for me to say because there was a good 30 of us out there with big garbage bags. We just cleaned everything up before all those people that travel over the state to come out. The whole focus this year now is that throughout the rest of the year, if we have any money, if we still have about $1,100 of the $19,000 we raised for the different sponsorships. So we're going to use whatever money is left over from that is just to kind of put the final touches on it, but really just keep buying things like landscaping equipment or buying like mulch, just so that we can make it so that people can get back there and clean. The hope was building the trail system and the road system is just to make it very convenient. I mean, convenience is key. We don't want to make it more of a hassle than it has to be for anybody to get back there and clean it. But the big thing I know going into this year is that garbage will have to be weekly. You're expecting probably 700 people a week now. And so that's going to be a lot of people, a lot of traffic. Most people in the disc golf space are pretty good with not bringing glass out there and crushing cans and doing that and being stewards of the park. Unfortunately, there's a handful of people that just aren't that way. I think that's true with any small community of things. So hopefully the trash will be there. We're going to see if we can maybe get some extra signs made for just picking up trash. But it's amazing what happens when you have something that's nice, people want to preserve it. When something's not nice, people don't really care. So I'm hoping that just this year is a really good kind of almost like working example of we have this nice space, let's preserve it, let's take care of it. And it sounds like a lot of people are motivated to do that.
I'll motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries, granting the $2,500 fund request to the disc golf volunteer group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the commission meeting agenda.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Just wanted to we have a new year starting in March. So our term runs March through the following February. So I wanted to get the meeting agenda in front of the commissioners. Typically, we do 2 meetings on and then a month off. You're welcome to change that if you feel it's, we need more meetings, probably don't want to do less meetings. But we always cancel meetings if there's not an agenda or if something comes up too, but, and then also, all the meetings are currently scheduled at City Hall. We do a bus tour in June, or could meet at a park site, or we could expand on that a little bit too if we wanted to meet out at park sites more, so. Just giving you the schedule so you can have an opportunity to influence that if you so choose, otherwise we can also deal with it on a per-month basis too.
I'd love to be outside if weather permits. Be kind of fun to like meet at a different park or something.
I think we used to do one in September. We used to meet at a park, like one of the playgrounds we did, if that's sounds of interest.
When we meet at a park, would we have the opportunity to still do some sort of broadcast from another location? Like, I know one of our responsibilities is to have an open and accessible meeting.
Right.
But it is nice to be able to be on site and see in real time some of the projects that are going on and just be a little bit more out in the community when we have the opportunity. Could we potentially have video at a park? Or I know at one meeting, this room was under construction, so we had like a audio recording of the meeting. I don't know if that would be more portable, but could we accommodate the open meeting and still be out in the open?
Yeah, there's ways we can do that. Let me meet with the telecommunications and our city clerk and our city administrator and just kind of find out what the best way is to make sure it's still a public meeting and everything's documented, and yeah, we can figure it out. Now, for consistency purposes, I don't think, you don't want to move too often. You want to make sure you have a home base, but yeah.
Do we need to specify at this point whether we would be meeting at other sites? Or could we explore that option and add that detail later?
It's up to the commission, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you want to pick maybe we pick a date so that it's on the calendar, and then we can always adjust it if we want to.
I'm looking at you, Sam.
I know. I mean, we have the bus tour right in June, so we probably would want to have like May and August here, right? Or, I mean, so that would leave like September maybe outside. Because November, December, you're starting to get a little chilly, and it doesn't matter to me. It was just a suggestion. It would just be something different and fun.
The COVID meeting was full of mosquitoes, if I remember right.
Yeah.
It was very outside and very full of mosquitoes.
That one that we did out at like Mississippi Dunes, like that was kind of, to get to walk around, and
Right.
we still had a meeting while we were there, so that was kind of fun.
Right. I will mark down, well, if there's.
Can it be like month by month, like?
Yeah. But I think for now, we can just, the motion can be to accept the meeting agenda with making September 11th a park site meeting, and we'll change it later if we need to.
Will that even be a meeting day since it's September 11th because of the memorial and stuff that they do, the city does?
We have had it on September 11th before, but,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I wasn't sure if it would interfere with, like
I don't know that we do a memorial here, do we?
I thought maybe I'm making that up.
I know we do Memorial Day.
Maybe I'm making it up, Zach. Maybe I'm saying it needs to be added.
You could be right. I do not know. Vic, I could be right.
I don't know.
Well, let's tentatively add an off-site meeting for September 11.
Motion?
I'll motion.
I've already got these in my calendar, so second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We've approved the meeting agenda with the noted addition. Okay, next we have a presentation of information about the local option sales tax.
Thank you, Commissioners. It was a thick part of the packet. and that's why I didn't ask you to read every single word if you didn't have the time to, but I wanted to make sure we got it in front of you. We've been talking about the local option sales tax for quite a while. In the past month or so, we've started to solidify, we put an application into the legislature actually, the city council adopted a resolution to apply with the state legislator to approve a local option sales tax. So that's the process. The state has to approve it first. Then we can go back to the taxpayers of Cottage Grove for a referendum, and then they get to either approve or deny that local option sales tax. The 3 projects that are recommended being funded are included in your packet. They include Hamlet Park, Mississippi Dunes Park, and River Oaks Golf Course and Events Center. The details are in there. One of the key components of a local option sales tax is the state does request it as regional significance, so that's why we landed on those 3 projects. There was probably 7 or 8 projects that we thought could have been considered for funding, but really wanted to get down to, well, 2 things. One's the ones that had the most regional significance, regional impact, and then also what we could afford. So one of the things that the financial consultants recommend is that you actually plan for a lot of contingency in your budgets. So there's $36 million in projects. That's not what those parks would cost today, but you have to plan for what they might cost today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, so that, and then you phase your projects so that you try to achieve what you can, knowing what your tax revenue is gonna be at the moment, and you can kind of plan for maybe 10 years of projects, and then you can kind of figure out if you can take off another layer of the projects later on. So that's why you'll see a tiered system in the memo to those, how those projects would happen. So we try to bite off the items that we think are most critical for that regional success. And then also, there's also a study that we're doing with the University of Minnesota that will tell us a little bit more about what we should expect for the local option sales tax, how that impacts the community. And then also, there's a lobbyist proposal in there as well to help get this through the legislature. Obviously, that's a complicated process to get through the state legislature, so having some professional service support there is kind of critical to make sure that we don't miss any process there. And then currently, Representative Shane Hudella is carrying the bill for the House side. And then it sounds like Senator Seaberg is willing to carry for the Senate side to at least get it through the process. So lots of information in there. I just wanted to make sure you have it. We've been talking about this for a long time. It continues to move forward, but we're still a long way from the finish line. And at the end of the day, it's up to the city of Cottage Grove and the residents of whether they want this or not. So any questions for me?
Do we know if the city's done any polling on this, like citizen-wise, and get any feedback, or is it too soon to be doing that?
We have not. We did the public engagement process to kind of find out what we thought people wanted, for major projects. So that's how we ended up on these 3 projects. Like I said, there was actually 5 or 6 projects, and we narrowed it down to 3. But that's how we got to the point of what we thought people wanted. And then, we'll go back. We'll go back at some point and, continue to do a lot of public engagement and communication with the public. But I don't know that we'd actually do a community survey at this point, because it'll just be, here's the projects, and we'll let them vote.
Okay, thanks.
If we did have lost funding in place, would that impact our eligibility for other sources of funding, particularly grants?
No.
Okay.
And Chair, there's also a lot of information from other cities that have been successful and not successful with their local option sales tax. So there's a lot of good information on that if you didn't get a chance to go through that. So it's not uncommon. It's something that a lot of communities are using as an alternative revenue source. And one of the things that we're finding is it's just, everything is so expensive right now, and trying to fund things just with property tax is difficult, right? Because you have parks competing against all the other service needs in the community, and it just becomes difficult to fund those capital projects. The maintenance is a little bit easier to manage, but the capital projects, as the commission worked through the Mississippi Dunes, that's a $7 million investment to build the park. That's not even to buy the land. Luckily, we got grant money to buy the land, but that's $7 million just for that one park. That park 15 years ago was probably a couple $1 million. So, yeah. So this is just another revenue source that the city's considering, and we'll let the people decide on whether that's the appropriate way to go or not.
So with these 3 parks that you have identified in these different tiers, is that set in stone? Like, is there a reason why Hamlet Park would be more at the top versus Dunes Park when Dunes Park is newer and needy? Like, you have, like, for tier 1 improvements, you have Hamlet getting $10 million, Dunes Park getting $4 million. Is there a reason why Hamlet is placed at a higher amount than Dunes Park, which would potentially, if we're looking at $7 million, is there, when
Commissioner-
Hamlet's already like,
yeah.
it's already done. I mean, it's here, it's,
Yep. So the way it would work is actually all those tier 1 improvements, that's what, according to the data we have right now, those are, all the tier 1 improvements at all 3 parks are what we can afford today, based on our projections of local option sales tax. So as the sites are available, we would try to tackle all those projects as soon as possible. The tier 2 would only come if we know that we have additional tax revenue. You know, as the city grows, as the commercial base grows, then we would try to knock off those tier 2. So all the tier 1s would get, not necessarily all started in year 1, but
No, right.
within the first handful of years, we would be trying to do all those projects. So the way it works is, we would be able to project what we have, we would take a bond out, and we would pay that bond back with the local option sales tax proceeds each year. We would pay the bond back. So we would take the money out, build what we want to build, and then pay it back through those proceeds.
right, but these things for Dunes Park, right? Like, that's the newest one that's gonna be coming.
Yep.
So are these things not gonna happen at Dunes Park if we don't do the sales tax? You see what I mean? Like, I mean.
Yep.
Or, like, if we, so can we take away from Hamlet Park if we don't do the sales tax to make sure that Dunes Park gets completed? Like, with everything that we're looking for, or what's the, like, I'm
So
just
Commissioner, I'm
wondering.
going to explain it the way I think you're asking it. If I get it wrong, please correct me. I think what you're saying is that if the local option sales tax, if we don't go through with it, and that is not a revenue source, what's the next step? I don't have an answer to what the next step is. Right now, we have money scheduled in the capital improvements plan through the park trust fund to build these parks, but it's nowhere near close enough to fund it. So relying on the park trust fund means we have to build a lot of commercial, we have to build a lot of residential, and we're just severely underfunded there right now. So I don't know what the next step would be.
I have a quick question. What's the typical turnaround time from when the council approves the initiative to a point where it's ready for referendum? Is that a several-month process, several-year process?
So the council adopted a resolution at the end of December, and then we applied, which allowed us to apply to the state. So that resolution authorized us to apply to the state, and that deadline was January 31st. So now the legislature, assuming they'll take up the bonding bills here or not the bonding bills, but assuming that they'll adopt these in the spring, which is normally when they do, then we would get authorization to kind of start the process to go towards referendum in November of 2024. So there's a lot, so there's a long period. And then in between that approval and the election, we'd be putting more detail behind these plans, really solidifying these plans. And then we would also have a 90-day marketing campaign trying to make sure people know what they're voting on. Marketing might be a bad word, but educational campaign to make sure people know what they're voting on. And then, I guess that summarizes it.
Chair? So I have first a comment. We want this on 2024. These tend to win, evidently, the numbers say they pass at big election years like 2024, 2022, because there's a lot more voters. A lot more voters tends to have it pass. So then I have two questions. They're related. The first, and it's for Zach, but also for us as a group, what might we be able to do to help this, especially, I think, because it's right in front of us at the legislature. But then secondarily, as we go to the referendum in 2024, I wonder if we shouldn't start talking about just what we can do as a commission to help us be successful with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I'll start. As we get closer to that public education component, the commission will be critical, because we need to be able to tell the story of why this is important, and why it's important whether you vote for it or you don't vote for it. We want to make sure people have the information. It's just like we did with the community center. Whether you're for these park improvements or you're not for them, we want to make sure you're educated, so that when you go to the ballot, you know exactly what you're voting for, and you can make an educated choice on that. So that's going to be our mission, is to make sure that we're educating the public, and you guys have your boots on the ground in the community and understand what people are looking for. So that'll be really critical to make sure we have your guys' help and advisement in getting that message out. But I'll look for other suggestions, as you recommended too.
Thanks for sharing all the detail on that. Okay, with no further questions or comments, we can move on to the Wellness 50+.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. I just wanted to share with you that we, as a city, have kind of officially put it on paper that we are calling ourselves a resource partner with the Wellness 50+ group here in town. It kind of stems with Vicki Snyder over at Basic Needs, and now she's kind of expanding. Similar sites are also hosted in like Oakdale, Lake Elmo, Stillwater. It's really going to be kind of the same, along the same lines as our other resource partners, like the bike park, the dog park, the disc golf. So it's just another group that we can meet with. We can share the work, share the experiences. We can help promote them. They help promote us. And some of these things were already kind of happening behind the scenes along with our public safety department. So what I did is I just kind of put both logos on paper, my name, and then Dan Schoen is with our public safety department. And then we have started to kind of put some highlighted events down that we are going to start doing things in our parks to get those in our community and surrounding communities that are age 50+ a little bit more outdoor parks opportunities. I know there's things at the senior center, there's things at the library, but just getting them, just getting more activities out there for those who are 50+. So some things that we have coming up that they have requested and that we kind of put back out to them that we are willing to help with. They are looking for some training on how to use the equipment at the exercise equipment at Kingston. Playing bocce ball one night, like how do you play? How do you keep score? They have already kayaked several years now down at Hayes and P. Moore. The first couple of years, Brad and I went with them. Now they're going on their own. And then potentially some disc golf. So, and then also the public safety things are on there too. Some of the public safety also partners with the ESL down through the school district. So you might see those kind of posted in their tag team event. So I just wanted to share with you that the Wellness 50, my thing is stuck here, is a new resource partner. The Vital Aging Network, that link is on there, and that is where all of their details and events are posted. So if you have any questions, I can do my best to answer them, kind of what our plan is, but we are still in the early processes, but you will start seeing us promote the Wellness 50+ here in Cottage Grove a little bit more in the upcoming months. Any questions? I can take those.
I'll just say good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, very good.
super fun to do different things.
How plus does it go?
I don't know that answer. I guess I'm not willing to say what I think out loud either.
We have like a growing senior population, so it's great to see a program like this. But the physical and general wellness needs of a 50-year-old compared to an 80-year-old can vary. And I wonder if we're doing enough to support or providing enough options to accommodate those different stages.
Yep, they
So I'd be
manage
curious
that.
to get more feedback about
Yeah.
what they would like to see or what would make people of different ages feel even more comfortable and confident enjoying the park system.
Yeah, they manage it really well internally. I know even like just the kayaking, for example, some people were older, they did the double kayaks. Brad and I were down there and helped them launch, helped them hold them stable. Snowshoes, we've talked about moving the snowshoes for a day to a more accessible snowshoe park. Oakwood is super cool and super fun, but it is not a it's overachievers. So moving the snowshoes to an easier park, bocce ball, will allow them to drive out there closer to the court. So just different things. So they manage it really well internally. They kind of they know their customer base. They know who signed up. So they do everything through Eventbrite. Yeah, Eventbrite. So then they can watch it and they're going to let us know what they need in advance. So yeah, it's been a great partnership so far. We're just getting ready to kind of roll out the next few months.
Well, I hope they'll keep us posted on what things would make their events even more accessible.
Absolutely.
All right, next up, we have action updates, starting with the Glacial Valley Park Building Project.
Thank you, Commissioners. Nothing much has changed since the last time we met, and you saw the Glacial Valley Park building design. This is the point in time where it's the duck on the water analogy, where there's a lot going on underneath the water and nothing's moving outside. But we're getting permits and contracts in order, and getting cash flow management organized and things like that, so that we're ready to hit the ground running for spring construction. We plan on starting around May 1st, depending on the weather and the soil conditions, and then trying to open the park, or should have the park open, or the building opened by the end of October. So it's about a 6 month project completion. There is an art request for proposal out right now, if you guys haven't seen that. That's been posted. We have a question and answer session on February 15th, and then those initial proposals are due at the end of February. So then those are, is it the end of February or is it March 15th?
I think it's March 15th.
March 15th. And that first round is basically just the artists will share their resumes and explain what their vision might be. And then the second round is they actually make, we give them a small stipend to come to actually show a scaled version of what their art proposal is. And then obviously a finalist is chosen, which we would hope the commission will be a part of that as well. And then that recommendation goes to city council to appoint that artist. And then for the fee, the art is owned by the city once it's completed. So a lot going on there. Any questions on that building? I can probably go right into the other ones. River Oaks Irrigation Project, we're finalizing that contract. I expect to have that here in the next couple of days, but product's been ordered, pipe and valves and everything else. All the materials are pretty much ordered and just waiting we do have some of the materials on site. The pipe should be here in the next couple of weeks. And then the pump house is actually a modular pump house that they bring in. So we're expecting that in the next month or so. So everything's moving on track there. And then the golf course, we did just post and are interviewing for 3 different positions for a new golf professional there, events manager, and then a grill manager / cook. So those positions have all been posted, and we're kind of filling them as we find the right candidate for those positions. So lots of activity there, getting ready for the season. We expect another great golf season at River Oaks, and obviously the grill and the event center. We have big plans for that as well, with our chef and all the great events that we run out there. So it'll be another good season there. I also included the park project map for 2023. I like to give this to the commission. I'm sorry.
Back to the irrigation project.
Yes.
And I think it's later in here where I read that we're gonna be running the entire season at 17 versus 18 holes. And are we planning on marketing around that, or are the golfers gonna find out when they call in to get their foursomes, or just, I mean, to me, that feels like something we should manage rather than, and so I'm just curious if we have a plan around that. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Olson, that's a great question. So up until July, the project won't actually start until July where we're in the ground. So until then, it'll be just standard 18-hole course. Once it does start, we do anticipate, on a normal week, we'll have 1 hole closed, and then that will move week by week. some weeks you'll be able to play through, some weeks you won't. So we'll manage it as it happens. There are times like for certain tournaments or special events or the club, the men's club tournament or whatever it might be, we can actually schedule the work around some of those major events so that doesn't impact that. We can play all 18 holes. For the days that a golfer might have the 17 holes, yep, we would definitely notify them which hole will be closed. And then we aren't planning on changing the rates, but we're trying to look at how we can provide that value back to the golfer. So maybe it's a voucher in the clubhouse, or maybe it's something else that that golfer can use. Because we toyed with changing the rates, but changing your golf rates is a really hard thing to do because it's hard to go back and then go forward. So we struggle with that a little bit. So we're trying to provide the appropriate value to make sure that if your golf game is impacted, how do you make sure that we give that value back to the golfer? So. I apologize for jumping forward. Any other questions on River Oaks? For the park improvement projects, I just want to go through them real quick. At Hamlet Park, we're going to be we'll be closing the courts there and reconstructing those. That typically takes most of the season. So those basketball courts and tennis courts will be under construction. Pine Tree Valley Park, we're replacing the rink lighting and converting that to LED fixtures. The bike park, we're looking at adding a picnic shelter and then doing some landscape improvements out there. Wake Farms Dog Park, doing some small dog enrichment, some drainage correction, and then also adding some rock to the trail at the entrance area there to deal with some water issues and making that a cleaner entrance into the park. Obviously, the commission was very involved with playground improvements at Peter Thompson, Ideal, and then Pine Tree Pond Park, and then also the Highlands Park that carried over from the year prior. We'll be doing that this year. Still Ponds Park, we're looking at starting to develop some of those natural trails there, so the public can start to use that park in a passive way. Glacial Valley Park, that park is probably about 80% complete, but we need to pave the courts yet and do the final lift on the parking lot, and then we'll seed the ball fields and kind of let those grow in for a year. So we won't be able to use the athletic fields, but they'll be in grow-in mode. Talked about River Oaks, and then there's always a potential for new park additions, but those are based on development. So happy to answer any questions you might have, but this is a handy document to keep around, so as you see things happening in Cottage Grove and you're wondering what's going on, most of those things that I'm anticipating will be on this map.
Thank you. Any donation acknowledgements?
We have none tonight.
Staff reports and educational material?
I supplied quite a bit of, each division has a report in here, River Oaks Recreation, Ice Arena, and Parks Maintenance. And then I also left for all the commissioners, the Mississippi National River and Recreation Area Water Trail Plan. So I didn't want to put in your packet because the packet was already massive, so I brought it here so that you could have a couple months to read this. So I'll be meeting with the National Park Service in April, and we're talking a lot about the National Park Service runs from Coon Rapids Dam down to the Hastings Dam. So that's a National Park Service, which most people don't know that, but we're fortunate to be on that, and we're trying to be more collaborative in how we develop a water trail system, especially for paddling. So just wanted you to have this. It's a good read. It's actually pretty easy to read, I thought. A lot of maps, a lot of pictures, so it's not all words. So you can get through it pretty easy. But if you read that, I would love to get your comments before I go meet with them in April so that I can kind of bring that back and advocate for the Cottage Grove section of that project.
Excuse me, Zach, what was your meeting date?
April 15th.
All right.
And then I didn't have enough of these, but I'll leave this for you, and I think there's more out in the lobby too. But we do have the Discover Cottage Grove. I thought this one turned out nice. This is our second annual report, so kind of things that we're trying to get out to the community about all we do in Cottage Grove. So I'll get you some of those as well.
Molly, I really like the idea of doing the project highlight.
I really like that you read it. Because I was like, oh, I wonder. Yeah, so in case anybody else didn't get to page 75, I'm going to do things a little bit different this year. Instead of giving highlights, I'm just going to highlight something different each time. So we did facility rentals this month. They've been very busy for us. They opened as of February 1st, so we've been taking rentals all the time. So yeah, park facility rentals changed up a lot this year based on usage. The last couple of years, it is one thing that for us spiked during COVID and continues to spike. So we're all friends now with the Parks Department, so we're doing daily rentals instead of multiple rentals a day. So it's been a welcome change so far.
We had started applying like permits, reservations to green spaces too. Have we seen good usage of that or not so
I
much?
would say maybe we get, less than a handful a year.
Okay.
I would say no more than 5. It's still nice to have on our form for phone calls that come in. People want to know the policies and the costs associated with it. So it's still on there, but I would say probably less than a handful.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, like he mentioned, Oakwood will be the big one this year. For us to manage between, like he said, 700 disc golfers a week and maybe a graduation party on a Saturday for 150 people in the middle of that. So I think that'll be a challenge that we're going to have this year is managing high usage at disc golf. I do believe there are 9 tournaments already booked there. So it's going to be a busy summer at Oakwood.
Good.
How's the feedback been from the public about the daily rentals as opposed to the hourly?
We have not, we don't laugh about it, but we've heard nothing. So I think it's good, so far. We have not heard too much complaints about it. A couple people, so we have it set for 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. A couple people have requested a little bit earlier, so we're going to make that work. But so far, so good.
That's good, thank you.
I'm not on social media though, so maybe you want to tell me otherwise. But
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't seen any
Okay,
complaints.
yeah.
Not in the moms group.
Check. That's all I care about. Yeah. So no, it's been good so far. They're coming in strong though and fast. And the city kind of changed their event permits, so we've had a lot of big changes between us and them. So we're kind of figuring everything out. But so far, so good.
Okay, moving on to commission comments.
Beyond whatever other commissioner comments you might have, we're lucky enough to have Commissioner Olson, who serves on the Washington County Parks and Open Spaces Commission. I included the information he brought back from his latest meetings there, so.
If I could take a couple of minutes, Zach. Just wanted to thank you earlier for the kind words. Wanted to thank the city for the plaque and the acknowledgement. Wanted to thank the other commissioners. I've really enjoyed the 7 years. I can't believe it's been 7 years already. So learned a lot, met a lot of great people, really enjoyed my time here, and look forward to seeing this group carry on the good work.
I had brought forth earlier some comments that I had heard about our ice rinks and warming houses, and I thought that we'd have a moment to get an update on those.
Yes, Superintendent Jim Foreman is going to be happy to explain our challenges with ice rinks this year.
Taking his coat off and everything.
We don't mess around with the rinks.
Hi, Commissioners. Yeah, the rinks this year were definitely a challenge. On a typical year, we start right after Thanksgiving with our tanker. We try to establish a base. And then the first full week in December, we will switch to working overnights. The entire staff on our parks group works overnights for 2 weeks to the holiday to get those rinks ready. It takes us a week to establish a base and then 2 weeks to build and level. This year, we had the tanker out for 2 weeks to try to establish base, then we got warm. And then we had the snow before the holidays. We had that brief cold spell, and then it warmed up. So basically, everything we started with, we lost. So then when we got into January, we had all the snow. So between plowing, clearing off the rinks, so we put water down, we did. Once we got cold, we went back to everybody at a rink on the hoses the entire time. We elected this year, I had conversations with Zach to not do Pete Thompson, because Pete Thompson takes 2 weeks just to get the base started because of the crown and the rink. And we decided not to do the Armstrong rink, just purely staff-wise. We didn't have our full staff. We're short one guy right now. So that way we could put somebody at each rink every day to flood. We established what we could, kept them open until today. We have 3 rinks left as of today. The other 3 are already closed. And that we're hoping maybe to get to the end of the week with Pete Thompson. That's the rink that's the most shaded, so that one actually should make it till Friday. It's all gonna depend on how much rain we get tomorrow.
Pine Tree Valley. You said
Yes,
Pete Thompson.
sorry, Pine Tree Valley, because that one has the shade from the hill behind it and the big pine trees that are up on that hill. But otherwise, yeah, it was a challenge this year just to establish to start out with the warmer weather. I think it's a pattern that we're gonna see more and more.
Thanks for sharing that additional detail. I think it helps us to understand more about the process and hopefully our community members to understand too. Do you know if warming house hours were impacted by the conditions of the rink? Were they still open as often?
Yeah, yes, when we've been open, we've kept our hours consistent. So they're still open tonight, so everything is, there's nothing, I don't think we even had any cold days where we closed early this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually that's pretty consistent that we're closed for cold snaps, and we haven't had any of that, so.
Okay.
And I'll add one more thing too, just for the crew's sake, is the same crew that's out plowing the roads and the cul-de-sac is the same crew that has to stay late to plow off and blow off the ice rinks and then come in early the next morning to put ice down. So it's, when we have these, I mean, this snow in December was something I don't think we've seen a long time. We have as much snow in December and early January as we've had for usually an entire winter. So they were just out plowing a lot and over the holidays, and they were worn out. It was a lot of hours in a short period of time, and then trying to get your holidays in and everything else. So kudos to them for, there was plenty of times where Jim and I sat in my office wondering if we were gonna get any rinks. And so we were pretty lucky to get what we had.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Do we have any council comments this evening?
I don't have much of a voice, so I'll keep this brief. Again, I'd like to commend Eric for his service on the commission. As Susie and I were sitting through interviews for new commission members, we were commenting on how we always try and encourage our community members to be engaged and get involved. And Eric has been a shining example of the good work that you guys do. And I hope that we have the remaining members here serving out their terms. And as one of our applicants had stated, I hope Eric gets to use our parks and take with him a sense of pride in knowing that he's helped in creating those happy moments for other families.
Thank you, appreciate it.
With our agenda completed, we can adjourn to our workshop on commissioner onboarding.
Motion.
Second. Wait, no, is it the motion to adjourn?
Well, we're not adjourning. We don't need the motion to,
Oh,
because we're
we
just moving
motioned to go to, okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll still second that.
Okay, so we are adjourning to our workshop.